This is the Brave New Coin Crypto Conversation, hosted by Andy Pickering.
Hi everyone, Andy Pickering here. I'm your host and welcome to the Crypto Conversation, a Brave New Coin podcast where we talk to the people building the future in the Bitcoin, blockchain and cryptocurrency space. Hi everyone, I know we're all hurting right now. Crypto has taken a beating, and Goldman Sachs says flatlining is the best case for stock-heavy portfolios. Flatlining? Zero returns? Sheesh. In situations like these, we can take a cue from the world's best investors, because a groundbreaking Ernst & Young study last year revealed that 8 in 10 ultra-high net worth individuals invest in alternatives. However, Bank of America's CIO recommends investing in one specific high-performing alternative to rescue your cash. He's talking about fine art. 2/3 of millionaires already hedge against inflation with art, according to UBS, because the last time inflation was this high, art appreciated by an unprecedented 33.2% annually. Now, obviously, most folks don't exactly have tens of millions lying around to start buying Banksas and Basquiats, but that's where Masterworks comes in. They're helping people keep their cash intact by offering fractional investments in the top 1% of the art world. And with a recession on the horizon, they've seen sign-ups increase by 320%. That, combined with the fact that they speak to every investor to make sure art is right for them. That means there's a wait list, but I'm hooking you guys up with priority access to skip the line, and it's as easy as going to masterworks.com and using promo code CryptoConversation. That's masterworks.com, promo code CryptoConversation, and you can see important Regulation A disclosures at masterworks.com/CD. Again, that's masterworks.com and use the promo code CryptoConversation to skip the line. And now, folks, it is on with the show. My guest today is Holger Arians. Holger is the CEO of Banxa. Banxa is a very intriguing and new, or even not so new, Web3 on and off ramp solution, which we'll learn all about today. Welcome to the show, Holger.
Thanks very much, Andy. Thanks for having me.
It is a pleasure. Very nice to be talking to you today. We'll do what we do at the beginning of the show, Holger, which is I'll invite you to please introduce yourself. Just love to hear a little bit about who you are, your background, what you've been doing in the lead up to Web3, where you're based, all that good stuff.
Absolutely. So look, you can tell by my name and my accent, I'm originally from Germany. Came out to Australia 8 years ago now. Fell in love with the country and the people, and stayed here. Got into the local entrepreneurs and startup scene very quickly, and started working with a number of technology startups, and did a couple of investments in early stage startups. Teamed up with a few people here, and one of them was Dominic Carosa, who's been an entrepreneur in many technology companies here in Australia back in 2000, and I started working for him as an investment manager. And the first day of my first day when I came to the office, there were some Bitcoin miners arriving. There were just these black boxes that create a lot of noise and heat, and we were just learning by doing. That was back in January 2014. Which was really an amazing experience to be generating digital money through those machines. And that was really the start for us to get our heads into this space. And very quickly, we started believing that there is definitely a lot of potential here on many different fronts, not just the technological front. We started spinning out a few different businesses around it, and that's what Banxa is today. And I'm sure we're going to dive into this in a moment as well.
Sure thing. So obviously then in terms of, I suppose the crypto timeline, 2014 certainly seems a long time ago, doesn't it, Holger? So maybe as a way of starting the conversation, just kind of fill in the gaps and maybe I'm sure Banxa today is very different to what it looked like right at the beginning. So tell us, when was the beginning? What is the origin story then for Banxa?
Yeah, I'd love to. So, like I said, we started with Bitcoin mining just to get our hands dirty, and we got very dirty. We had I don't know how many miners, but a full room of crypto miners, and we were in a renting one level in a big building, and it was summer in Australia. All the air conditioning were going, and at times we had a power outage in the whole building because there was a lot of energy going into the air conditionings and some of the miners. So we really got into this because we were excited about this whole potential, and it was just the beginning. And what we did initially, we started a website, bitcoincloudmining.com, where we were basically offering mining contracts for people to earn crypto through cloud mining. Then we started another website where we sold those bitcoins, buyabitcoin.com.au. And eventually we acquired bitcoin.com.au, which was supposed to be the destination for everything crypto, quite educational for people to really get into the space and get their hands on crypto, because at that time there was still the Mt. Gox time, where it was still around and running, but it was overseas. It was hard to get your money in. It's been quite challenging to really understand everything behind it. So we really try to break it down, explain it, and make crypto available for Australians. So we offered the service of those bitcoins that we mined to sell them. Starting at $50, you could get your Bitcoin, and we would send them to you. And quite early in the process, we realized that it's a challenge to get banking services because the banks were quite cautious, certainly worried about the risk part of this whole new space and technology. So we lost a number of bank accounts, which I believe every crypto entrepreneur knows quite well back then and still today, unfortunately. And I just heard about New Zealand, where you're based, Andy, still quite a challenge with the banks. So that's sort of been the start of the pivot, I would say, because we had to look for alternative ways to receive customer funds to send out the crypto. So we were debanked a number of times. And what we did, we teamed up with a company called Blueshift, which had POS terminals in over 1,000 news agents all across Australia, so that we were able to receive funds. The customers would basically pay cash into those point of sales. We would receive the money, and then we would be comfortable, after the required KYC checks and everything, obviously. We're a regulated entity, we would send out the crypto. So that was sort of the beginning. And then shortly after, we did a deal with Australia Post, an exclusive partnership to accept EFTPOS payment and cash payments at any of their Australian post offices. There are more than 4,000 in Australia. That allowed us to be local, to be to allow our customers that really wanted to explore this space to have a face-to-face transaction. They see where their money goes. On the other side, there's a post office employee. And that really helped with adoption and trust, because especially back then, but still today, that's been a challenge. And then back in 2019, we realized we've had a number of different payment methods by that time, including credit cards. We were able to process global credit cards. We've also been a founding board member of the Australian of Blockchain Australia back in 2016. So we were working quite closely together with Austrac, who's the regulator here in Australia, to get some sort of regulation up and running. And Australia was one of the first to have a framework back in April 2018, where crypto companies could register and follow these rules. We've then packaged all this up and brought this payment expertise, which was now global, plus the regulatory piece, together. And that was really the birth of Banxa. We rebranded to Banxa. We focused on a B2B channel. And we integrated with all the big exchanges. If it's a Binance, Huobi, OKX, KuCoin, even Trezor Ledger today, many of the wallets. And we are now their fiat on and off ramp, basically the gateway to onboard their users in many, many jurisdictions. Today, we have around 10 entities all around the world. We have all the licenses that you need to convert fiat to crypto and back. We have all the bank relationships, all the payment gateways. So that's sort of how we pivoted over and over again. But I guess this experience, the tough parts of being debanked and the regulation coming in more and more, and it's only going to increase in the future, that expertise, packaging that up, that's why we're here today. So hopefully that gives you a bit of background how we got here.
It does, Holgers, but I think it would be useful just to kind of nutshell some of that. So you guys are providing on and off ramps then, you said a B2B, so, and you mentioned some of the bigger exchanges in the space. So your role is you provide a simplified, easier fiat on and off ramp, perhaps easier than, other options like credit cards, and you're providing this to exchanges. And I had a quick look at your website. You mentioned some of the wallets, Ledger and Trezor, and a lot of other crypto entities as well. That's essentially what you do, Holger.
That's right. So in a nutshell, like I said, we onboard users. We are basically the gateway inside a large platform such as Binance or a Ledger, where we are able to offer a local payment to a user, let's say in Canada. They can do a bank-to-bank transfer, or they can do a credit card purchase. We offer different payment methods to those users in different countries. We are regulated there so that our partners, they don't need to have those banking relationships or these gateways. They don't have to have a local entity. They don't need to be registered there, because we do all this process of onboarding their users. We touch the fiat currency, which is always the regulated piece. We do all the KYC, so the customer verification, transaction monitoring. We report to the authorities, and we do all the fraud assessment. We protect our partners from fraud and chargebacks. So we're doing the end-to-end process, basically, of onboarding the users and then settling the desired cryptocurrency into the wallet of Binance, for example, directly. So that's sort of the where this bridge from the real world to the crypto world and sitting inside all these platforms. So I hope that makes it a bit clearer.
It does. And, I guess it's fascinating, Holger, that you've been able to do this. You yourself are based in Australia. I'm sure you have a team, based in various parts of the world, as tends to be the case with fintech and crypto companies these days. But it must be a very challenging proposition to put this together and, be able to comply with whatever the different rules are in different jurisdictions around the world, because as you mentioned, that the more traditional banking system still very skeptical, I think, of crypto, and as you said, you've talked about being debanked, and I think that's happened to a lot of people in crypto as well, right?
Absolutely. It's a daily challenge, even after all that time. And it continues to be, and we've certainly seen a lot more adoption and hype and everything that has happened, especially this year in crypto. And that just gets the attention of the banks and the regulators. And it's good that things are happening, but we would like to see that much more in a collaborative, constructive way. But like you said, I guess all these challenging experiences have brought us where we are, and we are an infrastructure company. So what we're building takes time and diligence. It's frustrating at times, but also we have chosen the way to become a public company. We're publicly listed on the Toronto Stock Exchange Ventures in Canada, because we wanted to be extra transparent, and the regulators, the banks that we work with, they appreciate that, and we believe there's only more regulation going to come. So we just need to know what you want us to do, and we can do it so that we are that reliable partner for our partners and their users.
Yes, indeed. It's fascinating also, Holger, that you seem to be positioning yourself, as specifically focusing on Web3, whether that be NFTs, DeFi, but certainly perhaps a move towards Web3. Is that kind of a conscious differentiation from what may have just been more crypto exchange on and off ramp payment services in the past?
Good question. So we're sort of going with the industry, and what we've seen over the years is that initially we've been integrating a lot with centralized exchanges, because that's where the users were. Today we're seeing many more use cases in crypto, especially over the last few years with the adoption of NFTs. We've seen NFT marketplaces. We see many more use cases for crypto, such as gaming or DeFi or SocialFi. And Banxa is really agnostic. We're also seeing Web2 companies, neobanks, real banks, Commonwealth Bank of Australia, for example, to enter the space and to offer their users some sort of use case built on the blockchain. And Banxa, again, is able for many of these platforms to just be the plugin, because what we want is to support the builders out there. We would like to let the builders build on the blockchain, innovate, build this platform that they want to build for their users. But you still need to onboard users. And today, everyone is pretty much starting with their fiat money. And that's where Banxa can be really the bridge. And we just plug into whatever platform you have. If it's a Web2 platform that wants to get into Web3, or if it's a full-blown Web3 game or wallet, Banxa can plug in so that you can innovate, and we deal with the onboarding of the user, all the regulation, all the payments, the chargebacks. So you don't have to worry about that, because, again, it's challenging. And when you have to innovate and you're competing globally against other platforms, you really want to do good, focus on what you're good at. We focus on our niche, which is the on-ramping and the off-ramping.
Yes, indeed. And it must be challenging times at the moment, though, Holger. Obviously, we're in a crypto bear market, crypto winter, have been for some time, probably will remain so for some time. I saw that, like a lot of crypto companies, I think, Banxa, you reduced your headcount a little bit significantly earlier this year. I mean, there's no problem there. Everyone from Banxa to Coinbase up and down, and everyone in between have probably been forced to do something similar. Obviously, it's extremely likely that good times will return. We are kind of on the path to wider Web3 adoption. But what are the challenges involved in kind of staying the course in the meantime? Like, for example, I saw just last week, I think, OpenSea were talking about how the trading volumes on NFT had absolutely cratered. So there's obviously much less demand for these kind of services at the moment, as we kind of wait for that next wave of new people to come into the space, right?
Absolutely. And if I hadn't been doing this for 8 years and seen the ups and downs, and crypto always swings in extremes, and you've been in the space as well for long enough to see, last year was great, a great time, because we had NFTs which really showed a use case for a bigger group of consumers that could really relate to the real world benefit of collectibles, for example. And I believe we haven't even scratched the surface yet of the potential. previous crypto winters in 18, 19, for example, we didn't have the fundamentals. We had ICOs. We just came out of the ICO hype, which was, a money grab for a white paper. In many ways, there were fantastic projects coming out of that that are still around today, but also there was a lot of money raised just based on just ideas, and many people took advantage of that. Today, the fundamentals are right. We have so much more in Web3 and in NFTs, in GameFi. Very exciting that there's a lot coming out now. So that gives me the confidence that we have a much better foundation, that this is going to come back sooner than we believe. For the first time, though, we do have the macro environment, which is generally not very supportive. But again, I've done this for 8 years. I know that it's going to come back. It's only going to come back bigger than before, much, much stronger, much more use cases, which means even bigger adoption. And because we've sort of adjusted the size of the business and our spend to the transaction volumes, like you mentioned, OpenSea has gone back. Our volumes have gone back as well, just naturally in line with the volumes at our partners. We will get through this. I'm not concerned because I believe in this space. I have for the last 8 years, and it's not going to go away anymore. It's only going to take over more of the real world eventually.
Absolutely. Well, let's dig into that a little bit more then, Holger. So, as we've discussed, you have positioned yourself very much as a partner for existing Web3 native platforms, but also, existing Web2 companies and brands that are wanting to perhaps dip their toes into the wonderful world of Web3 and start to experiment with the NFTs and digital collectibles and, online communities and all the cool things that are becoming possible. So, talk to me then about what is exciting about this kind of Web3 enabled future that makes you confident that there's an ongoing business opportunity here and perhaps a chance for the world to change.
Yeah, absolutely. The way I see this is over the past years, we've just seen more and more of the real world being mirrored into the digital asset world. And that's, for me, it's a generational event. And it's super exciting to see that we now have Nike, selling more than $100 million worth of digital assets to their followers and engaging with them and even benefiting from the royalties from the secondary market. That is just one example, but so many Web2 brands or brands from traditional brands are exploring, and they're seeing great use cases. That really gives me the confidence that they're very open, that they are adapting, and that the best is yet to come because everyone's exploring what is possible, pushing the boundaries. And for Banxa, that obviously means we are agnostic what is happening there. We are just really the gateway for all these users to those experiences. If that's buying a ticket, if that's buying an NFT or an in-game asset, or buying a Bitcoin or a fraction of it. So that's really where we're sitting. And as more and more of the real world is being transitioned or mirrored into the digital asset world, this space is only going to explode, in my view. And there are so many use cases, stable coins, cross-border payments, everything that's possible with NFTs, that I believe we're just at the beginning of this. And we as a business, we're positioning ourselves in a way that we are integrated with most of these up-and-coming platforms, plus all these existing large platforms, so that their users can safely on and offboard in this world. The view I take is there's always going to be the real world and the digital asset world. They're always going to coexist. We're not going to, make everything digital and just live in the metaverse. That's definitely not going to happen in my view. But again, we'd like to be the bridge between those worlds.
Fantastic. And are you an NFT guy yourself, Holger? You collecting some NFTs?
I haven't too much. My last NFT purchase was actually through a collaboration we did with Hendrix Gin, the spirits brand. Banxa also has a service where we offer direct NFT purchases. So you don't have to do all the steps in the middle. We're all about removing friction. Again, it's onboarding new users to this space, and they often don't want to jump from one platform to the other, wallets, gas fees, KYC. It's quite challenging because there are many different areas you need to dive into until you get your NFT. So we've made it easy in one of our products to buy an NFT directly, and we did a pilot with Hendrix Gin, where they teamed up with a Belgian artist who created a limited artwork series for Hendrix Gin. And Banxa was the one that facilitated the payment, the onboarding, and the direct NFT purchase. And that was launched 3 months ago. That's when I bought my last NFT. Haven't bought very much last year because I've just been too busy.
Yeah, very nice. And we'll shout out to Hendrix Gin. Makes a delicious gin and tonic. There's a Hendrix Gin. Well, as we finish off this part of the podcast, Holger, look again. I just make the case for Banxa if there are any brand managers or company reps or exchanges listening that perhaps have had their ears pricked and perhaps keen to find out more about your services. Just give us that nutshell again, and where should people go?
Yeah, absolutely, Andy. Thanks for the opportunity. So Banxa is a fiat to crypto on and off ramp. We're integrating with any Web3 or even traditional platform to convert fiat to crypto for their users. We take care of the end-to-end process, the payment processing, fraud assessment, everything KYC, the regulation, and we settle the cryptocurrency in the user's wallet, or if they want to buy an NFT directly, we do all this. So we're really the gateway in and out so that you as a builder can completely focus on your innovation on the blockchain. And there are so many opportunities. We do this onboarding part, and that's what we specialize in. It's only going to be more regulation coming in. We got you covered on that front. There are no chargebacks involved, nothing. So if you want to reach out to me, my email address is holger@banxa.com. And I'm more than happy to work with any project out there.
Fantastic. Well, let's go to a very quick break, Holger, and then we'll come back. We'll have some fun. We'll run you through the very famous Crypto Conversation hot take round. Back in 1 moment.
Here's what's being said about Masterworks.
My name is Jacob N. I'm from Long Island, and I've invested over $73,000 with Masterworks. My portfolio performance just wasn't cutting it. I researched all these alternative investments, like crypto and NFTs, but they didn't make sense to me. Then I read about Masterworks in Forbes, and I signed up right away. And now you can too. Thanks, Masterworks.
Get VIP access at masterworks.io and use promo code JACOB. See important disclosures at masterworks.io/DC.
And boom, we are back, and I'm with Holger Arians. Holger is the CEO of Banxa, a leading Web3 payments solution, as we have heard. And Holger, I like to finish each Crypto Conversation podcast with a quick round of rapid-fire Crypto Conversation hot takes. Are you up for it?
Let's do it.
Let's do it, Holger. Just going to run some questions at you. Just, give me your best kind of hot take style answers. Quick and snappy is kind of how we roll. Question 1 is, Holger, where would you say that you sit on the Bitcoin maximalist to multi-chain opportunist spectrum?
I started with Bitcoin. I'm a big believer, but I'm certainly seeing all the opportunities that are taking over much more of the world in everything outside of Bitcoin.
Yes, indeed. Okay, well, what would you say, Holger, is your firmest conviction crypto opinion?
Oof. That's a good one, Andy. Look, the way I see it is we're just starting, and this space is going to explode. Bitcoin is going to go through, at least $100,000 in the next 24 months is my view. Nothing of this is financial advice. That comes with adoption, just more and more adoption in this space. But also we're seeing just amazing use cases in DeFi and GameFi and SocialFi. Banxa is really on the forefront of working with these platforms. So I see amazing concepts being delivered to the market. So again, the best is yet to come, if you ask me.
Awesome. Well, Holger, Bill Gates famously said that we tend to overestimate what we can accomplish in 2 years and underestimate what we can accomplish in 10. So, with that in mind, obviously speculation, but, Web3, what does it all look like in 10 years' time?
Great question. Like I said before, I really believe that everything we have in the real world today will be mirrored in the Web3 world and digital assets, and we can just decide in which world we live. If it's somewhere in the metaverse where we're meeting with friends, where we're having a much more real conversation between us, but not being physically in the same room. This is all going to come sooner than 10 years already. But I really believe that every use case that we see in the real world is going to be reflected in some shape or form in the digital asset world. And again, we are sort of sitting at that intersection with our business to help people go in and out.
I love it. I love it. All right. Well, flip side of this, of course, is a quote by William Gibson, who famously said that the future is already here, Holger. It's just not evenly distributed. With that in mind, can you think of an example of the future being here right now, but most people just aren't really aware of it?
What comes to mind is who's really using digital assets these days, and where are the real use cases? Where can we make things 10 times better? In developed countries, like here in Australia, for example, I want to send you money. I can do that in 3 different ways. I don't need crypto for that. The costs are relatively low. It's instant. So why do I need crypto for that use case? But if I think about developing countries, the unbanked, for example, that's where I believe we have a much better use case for certain aspects of the digital asset system, and where, when we speak about equal distribution of this technology, I think that's where it has a much bigger impact for certain use cases than here. And I really hope that that really helps with giving equal opportunities to finance to everyone in the world eventually. We're still very early, but we're seeing great use cases and projects helping with that.
Awesome. Sounds fantastic. Time to start wrapping this up, Holger, but let's zoom out just for a second. Time to get weird. What do you see as the long-term future for the human race? Do you see dystopia or utopia?
I see utopia. I'm extremely excited about the technologies that we have today, the rapid pace of the technological evolution. Everyone these days has the opportunity to build something. It doesn't matter what your background is. It doesn't matter what your resources are. Things are very modular. You can build on top of each other, and you can dream big. And for that reason, I'm extremely excited about what we're working on today, but also what's coming in the future. And we've seen this with Web3. We've seen this with other technologies like SpaceX, for example, or Tesla, that are quite disruptive in how we've done things before. So overall, I'm extremely excited about the future and how we interact with technology.
Very nice. Let's close this out, Holger. Finally, what is your favorite science fiction book, film, or TV show?
Really good question. I'd say Star Wars. Yeah, overall Star Wars probably. But I'm, to be honest, not too much into science fiction. More the real world stuff.
Absolutely. And well, that's fine. And kind of the yeah, it's fantasy seems to be leading the way at the moment with the new Game of Thrones show, and of course new Lord of the Rings show as well, both just starting in the last couple of weeks. So yeah, it's all about fantasy at the moment, which is okay. I'm okay with that. I'm watching both shows. Perhaps share my thoughts as we get deeper into them. But Holger, we reached the end of today's show. Thank you for coming on and talking all things Web3 and payments. On behalf of Banxa, nothing else to say really except to hand the metaphorical microphone back to your good self. Please tell the people where they can find you on Twitter or wherever else you like to hang out. And of course, again, one more time, where they should go to learn more about the services that Banxa is providing.
Absolutely. Thank you, Andy, again for the opportunity. So if anyone wants to write me a message, best on email, holger@banxa.com. And again, we're here for the builders. We're here for the Web3 platforms. We really help you take care of onboarding users. And we've done that for 8 years. So we're a reliable partner. We're partnering with the biggest and best in the industry. Yeah, we're very excited about what everyone's building. So reach out, holger@banxa.com. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Holger. All the best, and bye for now.
Thank you, Andy.
All right, there you go. That was Holger from Banxa. And yeah, as discussed, fantasy is very much to the fore at the moment with yeah, Game of Thrones, which is, what's it called? House of the Dragon, I think. Only watched the first episode so far. I think, yeah, probably episode 3 must be about to drop any day now. Haven't watched the Lord of the Rings, what's that called? Not even sure. The Rings of Power, there you go. But we'll definitely be watching that with the family this week. Of course, The Sandman, if you watch The Sandman, also, it's not, Sandman's an interesting one. It's kind of a bit sci-fi, it's a bit fantasy, it's a bit horror, all of those things. Fantastic though, highly recommend that. I'm actually reading the Sandman graphic novel, the comic, the original, because I enjoyed the show, the Netflix show, that much. Anyway, that is it for today's show. Thank you for listening, team. Don't forget to subscribe to the Crypto Conversation in whatever podcast app you are using. Give us a 5-star rating on Spotify, on Apple, wherever you get your podcasts. Love your work, team. Thanks for listening. This was the Crypto Conversation for Brave New Coin.